Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would sit down and do another video for you guys and gals. I'll get a sip of my water first. My radio voice going, and let's talk about this. Get that forearm shot. Forearms are on point. Okay, I had someone ask me in the comments this morning, you still do an upper-lower split, but your volumes are fairly low. Why don't you just do full body 3 days a week and just do your 4 lifts and a couple accessories? And here's the issue with that. And I know I promoted a ton of full body training early on my channel. A lot of people got great results on novice programs doing it. But the problem we run into with advanced lifters, and this is why I don't do it anymore, it's why I don't recommend it. And this is definitely evidence-based, it's also real-world based. But you're gonna compromise results somewhere. Why? Because your systemic fatigue is so high that near the end of the workouts, your performance is way down and your muscle fiber recruitment is way down. It's one thing to do curls after you've done back work because you've worked the arms. So obviously they're going to be accumulating more fatigue through the workout because you're training them, right? Pull-ups, chin-ups, rows, all those things are working your biceps. So doing curls afterwards has always been a viable approach, whether you're doing an upper type split or whether you're doing, a back and bicep type row split. It's kind of time proven for a reason. Okay? Systemic fatigue builds up though when we start working other muscles first, and particularly with legs. So the problem we start running into, how they fixed it back in the day, the OG bodybuilders, the old school guys like Steve Reeves or whatever, who used to do the full body back in the day and still look good, how they get away with that. They just deprioritize their legs. And those guys had great physiques, but you notice a lot of them didn't always have the best legs and didn't always have the best squats. Why? Because they knew that the muscles they trained first were probably going to get the most muscle growth, so they just did arms first. And I do mean that. Guys like Reeves would come in and do their curls at the very start of a workout. And then sometimes their arms would be recovered by the time they got to their rows or pull-ups or whatever, because the workouts, were relatively long with the full body. So they'd be okay. But a lot of times these guys would do their lower body last, and then their lower body would suffer, because here's what we know based upon the data. This has been found in the lab. If you're training multiple muscles through a workout, the exercises that you do last, what happens? Your performance goes down. We all know this even if you do high volume training. You all know that even if you have an arm day, what happens near the end of your arm day? Of course you're weaker near the end. But even if you train other stuff, it gets weaker. So here's your problem. If you train full body, you're going to have to prioritize and decide, hey, I have muscle groups and body parts that I care about way more. Well, that's not good for balance. If you're saying, hey, I want to get jacked and strong top to bottom, this becomes a problem. This becomes a big problem because it's not fatiguing the muscle. Again, a bench press fatigues the triceps because they're being used, and we can accept that. You're not losing tricep progress because you bench and then do triceps. But you are going to lose tricep progress if you squat and deadlift and then do triceps, because the systemic fatigue of all of it carries over. Same thing. So you say, okay, well, I'll just do all that first. Well, so you're going to do your upper body first on the same day, then you're going to squat and deadlift. Your performance is going to suffer. And if your performance goes down because your whole peripheral nervous system and your whole system and your body is fatigued, what happens? You will recruit less muscle fibers. Because systemic fatigue is different from localized, but it will still impede performance. This is why people started doing splits to begin with. This is why. Because otherwise, if you do full body, something is going to get lacking. And the only way to get around that is say, well, whatever my best muscle or one I care about least, we'll just do all of that near the end. Now, people say, but isn't that happening if you're doing upper lower? Not really, because my upper and lower both grow. Why? Because they're all being worked. So in other words, okay, so what if I do bench and chin-ups first? as a superset, right? And I like those antagonistic supersets. So what happens? Okay, sure, I'm getting more fatigued, but the muscles that are going to be trained at the end all got worked. Did my delts get worked on the bench and the chin-ups or rows or whatever? Yes. Did my biceps and triceps get actually worked on them? Yeah, they got some actual stimulus. So it's not as big of a deal if the systemic fatigue is creating a problem, because the muscles did get worked and got fatigued already. Now we're going to come in and just finish them off. And it actually works. We can get away with it. So what happens if I squat first? Keeping in mind, I'm not a novice anymore. People say, wouldn't this apply to novices? No, not so much, not as much. Because they're going to grow from anything. They're going to grow from anything. But notice I don't keep people on those sort of programs a super long time. Yeah, we always tend to squat first on novice full body programs. Why? Because it's a big exercise that will build the most muscle. It makes sense to do it first, because we can always finish up with the other stuff, and the novice isn't going to create the same fatigue. How much fatigue do I create squatting and deadlifting? A lot. A lot. I'm over here doing rep work with 500 plus pounds on the deadlift. How much fatigue does that create later in the workout? Okay, so people, well, you could do it later, so then I'm going to deadlift light and get less stimulus. Oh, then I'm going to have a big bicep pump and possibly micro tears in my bicep tendons when I go to deadlift. Now, I don't know that that's a wise idea for me either, given the sort of weights I'm capable of moving. This is a problem. And all these solutions, people, well, you could do this, you do this. Well, or I could just split it up and do an upper lower, and then all those problems go away. I can come in and really focus on the things that I need to focus on. I can focus on my legs and glutes on my lower body day. My upper body day, I can hammer my upper body and finish up with the weak links last, but they already got worked on the big movements. So again, stuff like arms, doing a few lateral raises for the side delt, I can come in and hammer those, and it works. I get a tremendous pump. They are beat up, but I'm still keeping the volume somewhat moderated, right? Because I'm training hard enough that I don't need a whole lot of volume. So for in my case, that works, and different people split stuff up for that reasons. And I'm not telling you that you necessarily should go do a true body part split. If you do, if you need to split stuff up that much, I kind of like a 3-day-a-week program at that point. I think that works great, my opinion, for most people. I'm not talking about people trying to win the Mr. Olympia. But if you're just trying to be the most jacked guy in the gym with the best physique, or you're just trying to compete in powerlifting, it works. And I know guys with elite world level lifts who do 3-day-a-week powerlifting. All right, perfectly reasonable. It's not necessarily how you're going to become Mr. Olympia, but you probably don't have the genetics or the substance stack to do it anyways. So quit worrying about it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the full body becomes a compromise once you have a strength base. And it's just easy to do an upper lower. It resolves the systemic fatigue problems later in the workout. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.